Hey everybody, we're live. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully better than me. I'm obviously running way behind schedule. I laid down for a nap about an hour and a half ago, set my alarm, and problem was it worked. It was just set for AM instead of PM. If it wasn't for Billy texting me and Emily texting and emailing me and my phone blowing up, making another noise, I would probably still be snoring right now. But I do. I apologize so much for that. But yeah,
Sandra Sandra says she felt like she was being stood up.
I'm so sorry. Uh, I'm actually still kind of like half asleep. I'm trying to get everything powered up and going here. I can't even see. Let's go. See, we got 13 people in here. Wow. Hung out for an hour waiting. Yeah, it was wow. That's some good sleep too. It's like usually, when you lay down to take a nap and you just want to take a short one and you end up oversleeping. It's usually like the best sleep you get. Dude, I was
Oh,
in a deep
absolutely.
sleep. I was in a deep sleep. I was like, what? I
I
woke up.
figured I was like, because I was thinking either you was in a really deep sleep or you might have put your like turned your phone volume down or something, and so you get your ringer volume.
Yeah,
Because I called like four times. I was like, man, he's either freaking out or his phone volume's down too low.
I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear nothing. That was some good sleep.
Hey, Appalachian Prepper, Johnny Angel, Virginia. I've been talking to everybody for like an hour, so
Yeah, it's been an hour. It's 2 minutes till 9. Man, okay. Virginia Roots. Prep for it. Tasha's here. Yeah, that was a wow. I apologize for that. Stars Cove, Phoenix.
or if I'd have lived next to you over there, I'd have come over and thrown them cold marbles, them ice cold marbles off in your bed. You'd have woke up then.
But dude, I tell you, I've got like 30 messages on my phone, like 15 emails, 12 missed calls. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at them yet because I've just been trying to get everything powered up and just splash
Right.
water on my face and come here and go live. And like Gypsy's here, get burning fires. Sarah Moody. Nah, Sandra, you weren't being stood up. I was snoring. You can probably still hear it in my voice. Look at my eyes. I just woke up.
Hmm.
I mean, it
Well,
wasn't even very long nap. I lay down like 6:15, something like that.
well, I've been hanging around waiting on you for an hour, and now I just got a notification that this guy Ghost Prepper is going live. I'm gonna go watch him, man. I
I don't
I ain't
blame
hanging out with you no more.
you. Yeah, I do not blame you. I would too. Yeah, it was,
Who the hell?
Angela Bowles. Thanks for waiting around. I appreciate it. Wow.
We get some people stumbling in now. Gardner Josh, bunch
Yeah,
of
we're up to 20, it looks like. Yeah, after
Santa.
Tiger, what's going on?
Virginia Roots is in here. Bug Dude, Coral Ticket,
Dude.
Ticketed Homestead. Sounds like where the scenario I was reading a little bit ago.
Yeah, the one I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's three separate ones, but all
Yeah.
three of them can be kind of elaborated on. So I figured we'd do that one because it has a lot of different mental aspects to it, little different options to it.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I got some stuff on some of that with one of the part of the scenario there.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if you want to wait for a minute and kind of get woke up and
I'm awake. Roll
what's up,
with
Purple 101? SARS CoV,
101. What's going on?
Moonlight
No.
Gypsy. I do like that name too, Moonlight Gypsy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pull this email up.
Who the hell? According to Josh. Oops.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah,
do, I
I'm ready, bro.
do I still have my sleeping voice, or do I have my awake voice?
You missed what I said earlier.
What?
I said you woke up and you had condensation on your jiggler and you had to clean and dry, and then you'd be here.
Yeah, it rusted to the lid. It was terrible. Yeah, the bad thing is I don't drink coffee, or I would, bug dude. Okay. Obviously, everybody, welcome to the show. I apologize for being an hour and 2 minutes late. I laid down for a nap, and I set my alarm for AM instead of PM, and it did not go off. And I got really, really good sleep until I realized that I was almost an hour late. And so now we're where we are. So our scenario tonight comes from Jan Wood, and it's actually a combination of three kind of short intermingled scenarios. Um, what I'll do is I guess I'll just read one at a time, and we'll do it like that, and then just do an
Okay.
overall. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bet Mafi, Methuselah, welcome. Miguel, Baruka, hugs and kisses. Cloud, so what's going on? Okay, scenario number one. What if we had a revolution or a civil war, and the women were left to handle the bug out location, and all communications are out? I like this one because it kind of automatically flashes back to what actually happened before. This is like a scenario. It's technically not a scenario. It's basically a history lesson, because that's exactly what happened, you know, here in this country not so long ago, and has happened in other countries around the world, in history. It's something that has happened, and to be honest with you, it's something that's happening right now, and it's something that probably will happen again somewhere at some time, somewhere in the world. Um, Simply because whether it be the military or an organized militia, or a group just defending their home, it's 9 times out of 10 when there's a mixture of males and females in the area, whether it be just in your house or in the town. It's usually the males that go off to war, so to speak, and the females that are left at home, tending the home, the farm, taking care of the kids, things like that. It's just it's almost like an instinct that people are born with. The thing is now look at that same scenario in a situation where there is no man of the house. You can take that scenario to you're defending, the city, and everybody's coming together, and then it's really not that big of a deal because the numbers of men going out to defend the area are larger, so it probably wouldn't be that much of a detrimental effect if you didn't have a male at home. But if it's your bug out location, like this scenario suggests, and it's just, the male, the female, and say two kids, and he's got to go out and defend the perimeter, so to speak, then it's going to be a really tough situation because, guarding a 360-degree area, one person is a very, very, very tough, pretty much impossible challenge. Uh, so yeah, that in a situation like that, if it's just mommy and daddy at home, or excuse me, if it's just husband and wife, hunkered down in a cave somewhere, I don't think it would be going to go off to defend the cave opening and she's going to stay inside. It'll probably be both of them side by side because there's really nothing to protect on the inside. But if there was a revolution or a civil war, like you suggest here, um, what I can see happening is relating it back to the Civil War and how, the balloon went up, the horn went off. They got a telegraph, a Pony Express rider rode up, or whatever. Those guys, they grouped up and went off and did what they had to do, and the females or wives, so to speak, were left at home to tend the farms, to, you know do the daily chores and everything else on the, whether it be a farm or a plantation or just a normal household. Uh, and I got to tell you, that's probably as stressful, if not more stressful, and just as mentally tough as going to war. I mean, can you imagine? You're stuck at home now. You have to do everything, stuff you've never done before, and you got to make it work. Angela, welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for joining the membership. I appreciate that. I really do. Um, and you gotta figure out on the fly how to do everything while your husband's gone. And then, not to mention now the stress on his mind. He's worried about everything. His wife and kids at home, and if she knows how to, you know, crank the tiller or do all those things that he's been doing. So that leads me into my point of this is probably now would be the perfect time if you're a person kind of like myself that likes to physically go out and do all the boy stuff and shield and protect and take care of the girl. Now would probably be a time to look in the mirror and realize that, you know what, maybe you won't be here tomorrow. Maybe something's going to happen. You get called away to do something else. So the smart play would be to go ahead and bring her up to speed as quick as possible with how things work around the homestead or household or bug out location or whatever it may be, so that not only will she be more prepared, uh, you're preparing yourself because now you know that she can take care of the stuff at home and you can go function and do what you got to do, with basically as clear a conscience as you can possibly have, having to leave her. Tasha, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Really, thank you. Yeah, the beard's got the little sleepy curls going on in it. But
So,
yeah, that's a really unique. It's a simple question. I mean, that's literally there are two sentences in that scenario. Two sentences. That's it. But that's a mouthful. What do you think, Backwoods?
well, first off, real quick, I want to say a couple more people joined in. Patricia, Bella has come in, and Grandma Merkel, Stalker Steve says that's okay. Um, Christopher, how's it going, brother, up there in Canada? And so anyway, yeah, here's one of the things that I think that what needs to be understood is that there's a lot of women out there today, that I mean, dude, they know how to do the cooking and cleaning, like it, and but the thing about it is there's so much more talent in a lot of these women nowadays, man. They freaking know how to hunt. I mean, look at the milkmaid, man, out there farming, man, dairying and, milking cows and getting the stuff done. I have no doubt in my mind that you put a group, especially this group of women that we're hanging out with,
Yeah,
and you put them in at a bug out location with the men gone for now. Man, I'm gonna say they ain't gonna be much to worry about. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm gonna say they'd probably actually a lot of, hey, independent Manny. There's probably there's probably guys out there that would run into that situation and think right at first, oh yeah, boy, look, ain't nothing but a bunch of women. And then before it's over with, they'll be like, damn, I wish it would have been a bunch of dudes instead of these crazy women. Because I'm just telling you, man, I don't think that I really don't think it would be that big of a deal, man. I really don't. I think a lot of these women could handle it no problem. Because dude, I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of men out there that are not gonna be able to handle it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of women, there's a lot of men that won't be able to handle it, and there's a lot of women and there's a lot of men that will be able to handle it. I think it's I don't think um um I don't think it's going to matter about the sexes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Man versus women. I really don't. I mean that's just my personal opinion. I think everything would be fine.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be the normal lack of technology issues that are going to be hitting everybody because if this scenario that she put forth is something that's going to happen, at this present time, at this day and age, then there's a really good chance that society's already pretty much fallen apart, which means, the period's down, there's no communication, there's no TV or internet. So now you've got to occupy the kids that were raised on technology, that don't even know what it's like to go outside in the yard and play. They've never really gotten their hands dirty. They're used to ordering Domino's pizza 6 days a week, not preparing their own food. They're used to having lights where they can stay up and talk and play and party on the computer all night, and all that's gone away. So the stress, like, honestly, if I had to choose, like, if this scenario played out in my mind and I was just like a bee, not a male or female, and I had to choose whether to go off to war as the male or stay at home at the bug out location as the female with 2 kids and the responsibilities of keeping everything together, I don't know which one would be the tougher choice. Like, literally, it would be one, half a dozen of the other. Which one would I choose to do, or which one would be harder? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I just, like I said, I just, especially like I said, some of these women that been hanging around in our community and stuff, man, I don't know, some of the stuff I see from them and everything. I mean, like I said, man, I know dudes that can't change a freaking tire, man, and can't figure out how to, do simple things, man. And it's really, it's just a person, man. Look, if it was 10 women that knew what the heck they're doing versus 10 guys that didn't know shit, crap, sorry, didn't know crap. I'm serious. Why would I wouldn't care, about the dudes, man, because they don't know crap. I don't care if they muscled up or not, to me, they're just dead weight. I want, but of course, who would rather have the 10 women there anyway?
Yeah.
They're Leslie, pretty guys.
Leslie, thank you for joining the membership. I appreciate that so much. Backwoods, you got this email pulled up on your laptop?
Yeah.
I'm going to switch over to my phone real quick, which means I can't read it, so you'll have to do the reading.
Okay.
My mic.
Let me go ahead and read it, or you want me to wait till you get switched over?
This is a pain in the butt. You go ahead and read it. I'm with you.
Okay. So number 2 is, in case of a super volcano eruption or a nuclear blast, ash has covered your garden and your livestock and chickens are all dead. How do we seal up our homes or designated area? How long till we wait to go outside? How do we protect our solar panels, batteries, vehicles, appliances, phones, and CB radios? Okay, so first off, the nuclear blast, people can say what they want to on the nuclear blast, okay? I'm just telling you right now, nuclear blast, you just go outside and watch the pretty fireworks go off. It's to me, I just don't know why anybody would want to try to survive in a situation after a nuclear blast like that. If you did survive it anyway, the ground is going to be scorched. You're going to be scorched. You want to turn one of them? Yeah, there you go. It's, to me, it's just. Hey Sherry, how's it going? I just don't. Nuclear, just forget it. But now the volcanic ash. Okay. Well, first off, on the volcano, I didn't know a whole lot about this because I've never really had to deal with volcanic stuff. So I looked some stuff up and look for some things, and I'll tell you, if it's a volcanic eruption where lava has flowed, Okay, so you've got a good heavy flow of lava out there. Then the best thing the best thing you can do is pack up and leave. The lava, what happens is basically if lava flows, you might could see growth after 4 years, but it generally takes anywhere from as much as 200 to 400 years for the plants to grow back to maturity. The and that's only going to be after that long of soil, washing in over the top of it, things like that. So that's why they talk about that. Lava basically, because of all the heat that's in lava when it's going over the ground, basically what happens is it cooks the seeds underneath. Any of the seeds that would normally pop up, over time, anything that's dropped, it basically cooks them and destroys them. All right. So, that's for the new plants. And so I mean your lava is just, yeah, it's going to be a bad situation. The best thing I think, if it's a SHTF situation, I'm talking Mad Max deal, without rule of law, all that good stuff. I think the best thing you can do, if you live around a volcano that does erupt, the best thing to do is leave. Just go away. Now, if it's ash, okay, now understand that ash will not necessarily kill all your animals. And ash is actually, that comes out of a volcano, a lot of times is very fertile. And if you get ash, if it erupts and you get the ash, you're going to have to wait 3 or 4 days before you go outside for it to settle, and then you're going to want to wear some kind of thingy there, if you know what I mean. To keep from breathing in the ash and everything. But really, your animals are more than likely going to be okay. The problem you're going to have to worry about is the water and any kind of natural feed that's outside, because you don't want the ash. The ash is going to get in the water and they can't drink it, so you're going to have a problem with them dehydrating. So you're going to have a fresh resource of water that where you're not going to have to, where you can replenish good water for them, for your animals, and your animals should make it. Now the ash is gonna actually be good for your soil, and if whatever is growing, if you'll dust it off and get it. The only problem you're going to have to worry about is how long is the fallout, and how long is it going to stay in the atmosphere, and block out the sun. So that's going to be some major things to look at. You know, if ash does get over everything, and the ashes kind of went out of the air, you're going to want to just make sure you clean off all your plants and things like that, your veggies, all that. Just clean them off real good, and don't worry about the ash on the ground. And just get it off your animals and everything, and just make sure that you can provide a fresh, clean water source for them, because they're going to need water.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I have an echo.
No, you did, but
Okay. What about now? Do I have an echo? All right.
no.
Cool.
So
I
will
I'm
it
sorry.
ask how do we seal up our homes or designated area? How long till we wait to go outside? How do we protect our solar panels, batteries, vehicle, appliances, phones, and CB radios?
Is that all the part of number 2?
Yeah, that's still number 2.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and address the nuclear explosion and the hurricanes, or the volcano, so to speak.
Okay.
In a nuclear explosion, you've got a lot of different initial problems. I mean, number one, how close are you to the detonation? Number two, if you're far enough away that you can survive the detonation, the initial detonation, are you downwind? Are you going to have to deal with the radiation and the fallout? Because if you're upwind and you can survive the blast, I mean, and you're not getting any radiation from it initially, and the radiation is what's going to get you after the blast. If you're in the blast area, I mean, there's no need to even worry about what to do next, because all that's going to be handled for you. But if you're not in the blast area and you're outside of the radiation zone and you're not downwind, and that's the only explosion, there's not multiple explosions all over the country, which you're going to get eventually covered in radiation. If you're upwind, it's completely survivable. I mean, it's legitimately survivable. There are going to be some obviously issues to deal with, you know, power shortages, limited grid down type things, stuff like that. But that's also going to depend on the size of the detonation and whether it was an air burst or a ground burst. I mean, if it was a ground burst, you're going to have a small EMP, a localized EMP, and all the things that I just talked about to deal with. Now, if it's an air burst, if it's several hundred miles above us, say, you know, in the stratosphere, way up there, you know, right above Kansas, and it goes off, the entire United States of America is going dark. Most of Mexico and most of Canada are going to be dark too. That EMP would completely shut down North America for decades. I mean, literally for probably 40, 50 years, unless the world came together and started manufacturing the multi-billion-dollar transformers that operate the grid system. So if that happens, yeah, everything's going dark. But here's the good part. Nobody's going to die from the blast, you know, except for whoever's on the International Space Station. If it's beside them when it detonates, everybody on the ground is going to be perfectly fine. The only fallout from that nuclear warhead is going to be the massive EMP. Now, if you are close to a nuclear blast and you're on the ground and it goes off, and maybe you're not sure if you're downwind or not. I mean, but most of us should know your general wind patterns and where you live and how the jet stream flows and where the winds normally come from. And if you don't know, all you got to do is look at your local weather radar and the patterns that you see in the storm clouds. That's generally the pattern of weather blowing through your area, you know, 99% of the time. The only differences are going to be, like, say, if you live on the coast of the Carolinas or Florida or something like that, your wind direction can drastically change due to hurricanes. They bring their own flow of weather. But if you're in an area and you know that a nuclear blast went off and it's just the radiation that's your issue, what you want to do is, you know, if possible, get underground, you know, a basement, storm shelter, something like that. And if you're close to the blast and you're not sure if you're downwind or not, you want to be underground. You want to be in some kind of shelter, even if you don't have underground, if it's just inside your house. You know, if you've got some painter's tape, duct tape, electrical tape, towels, anything you can, try to seal up the cracks around all your doors and windows. If you've got some visqueen plastic, use that. You know, trash bags, use that. You want to tape over all these openings as much as possible. You want to close and cover all your air conditioning vents. You want to completely turn your AC ventilation system off so that it's not circulating bad air through your house. You want to basically, if you can do it, grab as much food as you can, as much water as you can, and bring everybody in your house into one small room and seal that room up as best you can. Not small, but you want to just make sure you have an area that's sealed up as best as you can. It's not going to be, obviously it's not going to be completely foolproof, but it's going to drastically raise your ability to be able to survive. Because the thing about the radiation, especially the fallout, if it's a nuclear blast and you are in the radiation fallout zone, all you've got to do is make it the experts say 2 to 3 days. I'm going to say 4, 5, maybe a week. Basically, you want to stay where you're at as long as you possibly can in that room, in your house, in your basement. You don't want to go outside for at least 3 days. After that amount of time, the direct radiation from the blast is going to dissipate through the atmosphere. It's going to come down onto the ground and it's going to dissipate really, really quick. So yeah, your chances of survival drastically increase if you can stay in a safe space, for at least 3 to 4 days, and then come outside and try to deal with your water and your plants and things like that. Now, if you had a heads up that, hey, there's going to be a potential, nuclear something here, or I don't know how you would get the warning, but just say hypothetically you knew that there was going to be a blast, a couple hundred miles away and you're downwind and you've got like an hour to prepare. What I would suggest you do is, if you've got some tarps or sheets of plastic or anything, tarps work best. Run out to your garden and cover it up. Run out to your yard and in areas that you plan on planting and cover it up, weigh it down and cover that up, so the ground can have some type of shield from the fallout and the radiation. And then after you pop your head up from the hole, you can literally go outside and uncover that dirt and carefully one side and just pull the tarp back, or even spray it down if you've got water pressure, and hose it off to kind of do your best you can to protect your plants and the soil underneath, so you can be able to plant the following year, so forth and so on. As far as your water supply goes, I mean, if you've got a well, you're good. As long as it's covered, you're going to be fine. I mean, water does an amazing job of dissipating radiation. That's why, all the nuclear blasts, like in the meltdown in Japan from the earthquake, what was it? Not Fukushima. It's dumping buttloads of radiation into the ocean every single day, and scientists are monitoring it. And it's amazing how well water dissipates, radioactive stuff, because there's a lot of water on the planet. So it seriously dilutes it, even at levels like that. So yeah, your water is probably going to be perfectly fine as long as it's in a well. Even the water in your house, if you've got it stored up, it's going to be fine. It's going to be just as good as you are, put it that way. Did it get radiated? Probably. Did you? Yeah, you probably did too, but you're still thirsty. So, you're probably going to be fine drinking that. The same thing goes for your foods. As long as they're stored correctly, they should be fine. They're not going to be any more irradiated than you are at that point. So it's everybody's in the same boat there. As far as a volcano, I mean, they're dealing with that on Hawaii on a daily basis. I mean, if you're not in the lava flow path, you're pretty much okay for a while, depending on what type of explosion. Now, a big, a volcano like Mount St. Helens, or some of the rest of those volcanoes in the Cascades, and when those things go, they're very, very explosive. It's a huge amount of force, and it creates a pyroclastic cloud for dozens and dozens of miles around the volcano. And if you don't know what a pyroclastic cloud is, it looks like a dust storm, but inside that smoke is that's your ash, your pieces of molten rock and lava and everything, just blasting out at greater than the speed of sound. And you can't outrun a pyroclastic cloud. It completely incinerates everything in its path. Those things are massively dangerous. Now, the ash fallout, which is what really killed a lot of people in Mount St. Helens, and even if you go back and you look at Pompeii in Italy, you have those bodies frozen in time, and that's what happened to them. They were literally just hit by the pyroclastic cloud, covered in ash and entombed. And the ash, the ash, it's not like ash when you get your fireplace going and you got to clean it out. Yeah, we call that ash. It's a completely different type of ash. Ash from a volcano is pulverized and powdered rock. It's superheated, and it's basically glass. It's a cloud of microscopic glass particles. And when you breathe it in and it's exposed to the moisture in your lungs, look what happens to concrete when you get it wet. Now that's happening inside your body, inside your lungs. There's actually a disease. It has a name. I can't remember the name. I wrote it down. I can't find it, because doctors and scientists were finding animals, from Mount St. Helens that died, weeks and days and months later. And they were finding their lungs were just completely saturated with concrete. And that those glass particles, they cut up your esophagus. They make it hard for you to breathe. There's a lot of respiratory issues from breathing, and you can't cough it up. You can't get rid of it. And that's what kills a lot of people. That's what killed a lot of animals after Mount St. Helens was they breathed in this ash for an extended period of time, and it just built up in their lungs, and it kills them. The part that people forget about when they look at ash, it's floating around, it's so light. Yeah, it's light until it lands on the roof of your house, and it builds up at a a foot, 2 foot. Then it gets wet. Now it's super crazy heavy, and the roofs of homes and businesses were just collapsing in Washington and Oregon because of the weight of the ash. So if Mount St. Helens were to happen again tomorrow, and you lived in that area and there was ash fall, you would want to do the same thing that you would do for a nuclear issue. Stay inside, seal up your house as best you can, so you don't have to breathe that stuff. Now, if it's continually falling and you're looking at the ground and you can see there's a foot, maybe 2 foot of ash built up, then somebody in the house needs to strap up and put the best kind of mask on you can possibly find. Cover your face, your eyes, your ears, cover your entire body as best you can, and you're gonna have to go outside, and you're gonna have to get up on the roof, and you're gonna have to figure a way to scrape this ash off or brush it off as best you can. Or it's going to collapse the roof of your house. I mean, This stuff is super, super heavy. And you may have to do it 2 or 3 times a day to go out there to keep the ash off until the ash stops falling. That's the huge issue. If you survive the actual blast, it's going to be the ash. And that stuff stays around for a while. And it's crazy, crazy good to grow stuff in levels that are, you don't want 6 feet of ash and think you're going to grow a garden next year. If you get, a dusting a couple of inches, and you till that up, man, your garden's going to explode. I mean, Mount St. Helens right now is just lush.
Well, that's one of the things that what I was going to get at, on some of that I was talking about earlier about your animals and everything. This is everything all depends, just like with the nuclear blast and anything else, it all depends on where you're at and how much you're exposed to. Yes, ash is very super heavy. It's if you're within a certain distance of this volcano and this ash, I mean, yeah, you're going to have a lot to deal with, and that's I mean, my personal opinion, it would be something I would be checking into now and try to figure out, just I mean, because you can't really know 100% for sure if a volcano is going to erupt or not. But They do have some pretty good scientific data and some pretty good ideas. And I'm going to say, if I lived around some volcanoes that might become active or becoming active, I don't know that I wouldn't maybe move myself out further away from it. And like Ghost was saying earlier, all your weather patterns and everything are pretty close to the same. Our storms always come from this way. It's very rare that something happens that, unless we have an Arctic blast or something, they kind of come from the opposite way. But normally, your weather pattern is going to pretty close to be the same, so all your wind and all that stuff, the way things are happening has got a lot to do with it. There's really and truly a lot of stuff to look into on this, but man, I'm gonna say if I lived that close to a volcano, I'd probably try to find somewhere further away from it, just because of the fact of, man, that's a lot to deal with. The further away you are from it, the less ash you're going to get, the less you're going to have to worry about. Yes, sealing up your doors, all the cracks in your house and stuff. It's kind of like back during the Dust Bowl. They spent a lot of time. They had to freaking, really seal up everything. And a lot of them old houses back then, man, they weren't sealed up very good anyway. And so yeah, it's just kind of one of them deals. You're going to have to. I think, if you're far enough away, your animals will be fine. If you're close enough, within a certain mileage of a volcano, I'm gonna say you're gonna want to have a place to get your animals in out of too. And so it's just gonna, again, It's all about how far away you are from a volcano when it goes off.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a farm and you've got a big barn and you can get your animals inside and get the doors closed, they're going to be fine. There's going to be ash that comes in, but you're going to need volumes of ash, and you're going to need to breathe it in for a while to really do drastic damage.
Right.
But I mean, if you've just got, horses in their stalls in a barn and ash is falling outside, I mean, and the doors are open in your barn, or you don't have doors on your barn, or maybe it's just a lean-to barn where you just got a roof and no walls. Use your mind and look at how snow falls. Look at the snow pattern in your area. That snow, it comes down, but it generally comes down straight. It does drift in areas, but even if you're just under a lean-to roof and it's falling everywhere around you and it's not coming in and you're not directly exposed, you and your animals are going to probably be fine. But if you're just out standing in it, walking through it, kicking it up, it's going to be bad. Animals are really, really resilient. Now, if they're just out in the field and they're covered in ash, yeah, you can go ahead and write that off. But if they're in some kind of cover, you're good. Now, if you got, a house, 8 or 10 chickens in your backyard, 8 or 10 rabbits in your backyard, a small kind of thing, Smart Man says, guess what? Bring them into the spare room for a couple of days. Bring them inside, deal with the mess. I mean, but you can't literally bring in a herd of cattle or a couple of horses into your, your 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. That's just not possible. So you're just going to have to do the best you can to give them some type of shelter, even if it's just taking a tarp and stretching it between a few trees and giving them, 40 or 50 square feet of roof, and then, tying them off to a tree or something. That's better than nothing. Will it work? Maybe not. I don't know, but it's a step in the right direction to trying to do something, because you're not going to get a horse to wear a mask. You're not going to strap a face mask onto a cow and think it's going to stand for a while, but you can try to do your best.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So that's basically, how long do we wait? Basically, the solar panels, batteries, vehicle appliances, phones, CB radios, things like that. Nuclear blast, you're going to want Faraday type cages for them. Again, we've talked about this actually multiple times about these nuclear blasts and everything. We know what they get from certain nuclear blasts, but at the same time, the particular one that we may experience there may be something different. There may be, there may be some vehicles that work, some don't. You're going to want to put them in something that, like a Faraday cage. And especially your phones, your CB radios, things like that. Appliances. Look, there's a nuclear blast. A lot of things are not going to work anyway. So your appliances are not going to be a big concern. Your solar panels and batteries. Again, it's you're going to have to wrap them in a Faraday cage type thing that rejects that magnetic pulse.
And there's a lot of studies now that are even saying that during a coronal mass ejection, a CME, or a limited nuclear type deal, where there are small electromagnetic pulses, that they're doing studies now that are saying that small electronics and small appliances actually have a better chance of survival. It's something to do with the amount of surface area having to dissipate the charge. So they're saying that your cell phones and stuff may work perfectly. You can turn it on, get it powers up and everything. The problem is you're not going to get a signal, because all of the towers and that system is what's going to crash. So it's going to really confuse the crap out of people if they're correct, because a lot of the small stuff's going to work. It's just the infrastructure is what's going to go down. Which that's good for some people, because some people, that's where they keep all of their pictures. That's where they keep all their recipes. That's where they keep all of their notes, things like that. So that would be cool if it does actually work.
Well,
You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the problem though with the cell phone thing again is, you know, some of this stuff you can, you know, store on your phone, but there's a lot of this stuff that they, you know, that's why I keep saying write stuff down, man. Get hard copies of everything,
Yeah.
you know, as much as possible, even if it's pictures that you really want to save. Go up there to the Wally World or to one of these places that have these photo deals. You can walk up there and plug your freaking phone in and have pictures made. You know, so that's that's the one thing, you know, because your cell phone may work, but you know your cell towers, you know, you can't know that them things ain't gonna go bye bye.
Yeah, they're fried.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
your cell phone is nothing without, you know, internet, without cell signal.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
now
there's
granted, the internet was designed by the military for the military, and then they
right.
realized that, hey, we could turn this loose on the public and make some money, and they did that. So, you know, I don't have actual physical proof. I've never actually seen the system that enables it, but I know for a fact, you know, and I believe in my heart that there's a fat dude in camouflage sitting at a desk. Hutch, what's going on? There's a
So
fat dude
hot.
at the desk, and he's staring at this button, and he can flip this switch anytime he wants to, and it's going to shut down the internet to civilians, but it's still going to function for the military. And I know there's a guy, and that's his job to flip the switch and make us go dark. But the military is still going to have access to the internet, and a lot of the internet now is you know, is satellite based. You know, and
Oh,
a lot of the military places are hardened for EMPs and things like that. So there's still going to be a network. The problem is, are we going to have access to it or not? And is it going to function in that capability? They're going to do their best to make sure they still have communications. And I'm pretty sure there are several satellites in super high orbit that can function and beam those signals, you know, globally. Uh, but you know, so people are going to be communicating after an EMP. The problem is, it's just not going to be us. We're not going to be invited to the party.
right.
It's going to be. They eventually it will. I think the grid will actually come online quicker than most people think, as far as the internet goes. But it's going to be ham radio type stuff, internet wise. It's going to be military to military, government leaders and world leaders communicating with each other through satellite bursts. But it's not going to be wide open. We got the internet, you know. It's just going to be for communications.
Um, Keegan at Homestead wants to know: should we build our solar battery boxes out of metal?
Um, that's what a Faraday cage is, you know,
Yeah.
and you need it to make sure you have no openings in it. A lot of people are building them out of chicken wire. Here's the thing: it does actually work. Chicken wire will intercept and dissipate some of the frequency, but not all of it because of the holes. You want a continuous metal surface, completely sealed all the way around it, contact and grounded to the earth, because it's going to hit that charge like a lightning bolt, and it needs to go somewhere and dissipate. So the better the seal is, and the better quality metal is going to really reflect and dissipate that charge. The best thing I've seen, and there's a guy on the internet, I used to watch him months and years ago. He's this nerdy professor dude sitting in his basement, and he's got all this RF frequency testing equipment, and he literally spent thousands and thousands of dollars building all these different designs of Faraday cages and testing them to find out what works the best. And what he came up with, I mean, he bought the bags, he did the whole home system, he EMP proofed his car and tested all this stuff. The most effective thing that he tested was a galvanized trash can from Home Depot, and he put the lid on it, and he took the aluminum duct tape, like the HVAC guys use, the metal
Yeah.
tape. And
Yeah.
once he closed the lid, he wrapped the seal of that lid with that aluminum seal tape and used his fingers and worked it in real good to completely seal it. And that thing blocked 100% of the radio frequencies on the inside of it.
Yeah.
So if you've got stuff small enough to put into a trash can, do it. If not, honestly, if it's if it's D-Day and it's coming, what are you going to do? And you've got access to a lot of aluminum foil. I would take aluminum foil, wrap up your phone, wrap up a laptop, wrap up anything small enough that you can get completely sealed in aluminum foil, and maybe stick it in the yard and bury it with 6 or 8 inches of dirt, and that's probably going to literally protect it just fine, because aluminum foil does
Just
work. Josh, what's going on? I know I saw a couple of questions in here. I'm trying to back this chat up.
Yeah, the thing about it is that with these Faraday cages, I've seen some stuff on them galvanized trash cans too. They work really well. Galvanized stuff is really good stuff. It lasts a long time too. And like, I know this shop building here, it's a metal building, and the whole thing is wrapped with that that I'm talking about, that foil. It's that foil insulation, and it's all foil on the outside. Now I do have some gaps, but I was talking with a guy that's pretty good with this Faraday cage stuff, and he was saying that with a couple of extra steps, this thing right here is a pretty good size Faraday cage, and especially because it's grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, it's got to be grounded. So he was saying, this thing is really a really good Faraday cage, and a lot of the stuff inside the shop would probably be, okay. The problem with it is, again, is that, if I protect my stuff, and I come out here and my ham radio still turns on and my cell phone turns on, but there's no network. I mean, that's kind of always been my biggest thing on it, is that, well, how much stuff is protected? They've been warning for years and years that our grid is not even close to being any kind of the military. Now, again, they've got some good stuff, but the rest of our dude, I mean, I've even read where some of the experts are saying that if we get hit with a hard enough EMP, even from a solar deal, that we could be without, there could be places without power for several years.
Yeah. Japhet Methuselah brought up a good point here. It says, hang on, I'll pull it up. It says, telling the truth, besides the satellite-based thing, they have separate internet hardlined all around the world for using cables under the ocean started in the 1900s. That is completely and 100% true. We as a society, we're spoiled on this Wi-Fi thing, not having things plugged in. But, old people like Woods and I, we remember the internet. You had to plug it into your phone line, and you heard the AOL dial-up signal, and that's how it worked. It was all transmitted through cables and lines. And guess what? That system, as far as the transmission part, the cables and the cables themselves and the transmission lines, those things are probably good to go during an EMP. It will be the actual computers that you plug them into, the switching stations that they use to transmit those signals. That's what's going to be really in trouble during an EMP. But the actual cables and the lines, if something did go down, that would be the fastest way to restore communication, is going to be the old-fashioned way, plugging your lines up. And, pretty much all the houses on the planet these days still have, phone outlets in them. They still have phone lines run. People just really don't use them, but they're still there. And it doesn't take anything for them to flip a switch and bring those hot again. They're actually probably hot right now. That's a really good point to bring up. And they will be able to bring the communication back, pretty quickly with that, using those hard lines.
We have landlines, hard line, here at the house. Hutch, copper, copper sheeting act as a frequency barrier. You don't want to use copper. Like, in fact, if you so a lot of times on these these houses and stuff, when they're plumbed all in copper, they do have to be grounded and stuff. They will conduct electricity, especially on the water line, huh?
I said big time they conduct it.
Yeah, especially if you like, there actually has been cases of people who were taking a shower that had houses that were done in copper, all their copper lines, and lightning struck, and it went through and conducted through the copper and electrified the water and nearly killed them.
That's a good point, especially for people our age. You don't hear it that much these days, but me growing up as a kid, I mean, I lived on the old farmhouse and all of our pipes were copper. And I remember growing up as a kid, you know, if we were having a thunderstorm or one was coming, you know, my mama and grandmama always said, no, don't get in the shower, wait till after the storm, you know, or if you're in the tub, get out of the tub, because that's not a wives' tale. That's actually a true fact. You know, those copper pipes, they will conduct it and pass it right on through the water. Matter of fact, if you've ever seen a firefighter, a lot of people know I used to be a volunteer firefighter for several years. And when we would respond to an electrical fire, you know, you don't spray water on an electrical fire, especially not a continuous stream, because whoever's on the other end of that hose is getting lit up. So, and there's actually several videos. JH556, thank you very much. And I hope you got my email I sent you yesterday or today, earlier. But there's a video of a firefighter fighting a electrical fire, and it's actually a transformer on the pole. And what he does is he pulses the water. So he sends out basically a blast of water and he shuts the hose down. So the water's getting to the fire to extinguish it, but there's not a continuous line of water where it can transfer that electrical shock to him. But he just pulses the water on and off.
Yeah, Appalachian Prepper, they started using PVC pipe, and isn't that part of why? Well, part of the reason copper is freaking expensive. It's expensive. It's expensive to make, and if it's not grounded properly, copper, again, you know, you can have the electrocution issues, and not to mention that if copper is not grounded properly, it will deteriorate and get bad places in it, start to leak all over the house, and it's a son of a gun. So yeah, PVC and some of these PEX and these plastics and stuff, they've got them now to where a lot of that stuff, you know, copper also, you know, copper, it don't take much to freeze and bust it, you know. And a lot of these plastics that they're making nowadays, that stuff can swell like 3 or 4 times its size and it won't bust. So, you know, that's part of the reason. But
all right, B Charming has a good question. What about a digital lock on a safe? How would you protect that? Well, B, I actually have 2 of those. Zani, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hang on, and we'll get that question too. On the safe, so I remember when I bought it, I opened the door, and you know, there's a little envelope inside, and there was this, it looked like a skeleton key. It was a big metal key about 6 inches long, and if you grab the face of that lock and twist it, it actually comes off, and behind there's where the battery goes that powers that lock, the digital part. If you look behind it, there's a little hole. It's a keyhole where you can manually open that safe with that key. So I would make sure if you got that key, keep it handy and hide it. If it's in a situation where you think we're going to get hit with an EMP, just go ahead and open the safe. Just leave it unlocked. Yeah, there are ways to get into them. And the great part is, you know, you could actually probably even just use your safe as an EMP shield if you just seal up the opening around the door, you know, and ground it, depending on, you know, what it was made of. But those things are made to where you can open them with a key. So yeah, you want to hang on to that. And what was that question?
B Charmin says, I don't think I got a key with that monster. You can have someone make you a key. A locksmith come to your house, and you also can call the company and give them the serial number and tell them, you know, and sometimes you can get a key as well if you've got the serial numbers to that, which will be on the inside of the safe in the door. And this is how they know that the safe belongs to you, because otherwise you wouldn't be calling and asking for a key if the safe didn't belong to you and you opened the door. You don't need a key, you know what I mean, if you're breaking into the safe. So that's kind of how they know the serial numbers are on the inside of the safe. And so some
Jeff,
companies will. How far?
right. Jeff says about the grounding rods. They don't really have to go that far into the ground. The reason you see people, driving them in, so deep into the ground is several reasons. Number one, the deeper you go, the more compressed the earth is, so you're going to get a better contact to that rod. So that it's going to be squeezing at the bottom of that rod and loose at the top. And another reason that people go really deep with them is so they don't have to worry about them for a long time. You can grab the top and wiggle it around. It's still going to stay sturdy, because the last thing you want to do is just tack it in the ground 4 or 5 inches, and one of your kids or your dog comes along and runs into it and knocks it loose. So, I mean, it's going to just depend on your ability to get it grounded. The deeper, the better, obviously. But I mean, if it's a hastily made thing and it's, in your basement or in your root cellar or in your backyard or something, and you're just wanting to ground your Faraday cage, if you just take a rod and drive it down, a foot or so, you're probably going to be fine. And if that's not an option, like I said before, you could probably just dig a hole, stick the trash can in it, and bury it, or at least cover the sides up, and it's going to ground itself.
Mm-hmm. I've the one on my shop building was I think we've got it in for 3.5 foot. It's 3.5 foot in the ground.
Yeah.
You also have to understand that depending on where you live, you may not get it no more than about 1 foot in the ground because of rock. So,
yeah. Let's see what we got.
Oh, no.
Trying to get caught up with the chat, man. I got so far behind here. I was on my rant talking about the Lady Hammer. Thank you for becoming a new member. I appreciate that so much. Zani, I have seen that, and then I have also seen several people debunk that, and what they're saying about using microwave oven would be the absolute perfect Faraday cage if it didn't have a door that opened and closed without a good seal, and if it wasn't open at the back, and if it didn't have vent holes for the fan. The problem with a microwave oven is that it has holes all through it and around it, so it doesn't seal. Now, if you wanted to use it just for the simple fact that it's a box and it's easy to get stuff in, yeah, throw stuff in it, but you better wrap it up in aluminum foil, make sure there's no holes in it, and ground it, and you're probably going to be fine with it. But at that case, you could get the same effect using a cardboard box and wrapping it in aluminum foil too.
So Hutch, if you're still listening, here's the question, and I know Ghost should know this one, no problem. Jeff Bear says, what kind of ground rod would you really need? Well, most ground rods are what?
They're copper, aren't they?
Yep. That's because they're very conductive.
Very, very conductive.
Yes.
Your path to the ground needs to have as little resistance as absolutely possible.
Yeah. So that's yeah. Most ground, pretty much most of all ground. I mean, the ground rod I got is copper. They're the ground rod that's out there that's hooked to my house is copper.
JIT preparedness. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, dude, I had this awesome thing planned today for my rabbits, and I had to cancel it because it was predicted to be almost 100 degrees here. So I was going to do several small videos of my rabbits, how they're excited in the morning and how their energy just goes to nothing when it gets really hot, and they're just lethargic and they lay down trying to stay cool. And what happens?
Yeah.
It only got up to 80-something degrees, so I have to wait till another hot day to do that video.
Yes, they do come in galvanized and even aluminum, but your better ground rod is copper. I've installed them for a long time because of plumbing and working around the electricians, and they have always said the copper ones were the best because they were the best conductor.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have copper, use what you got. You know what I mean? Any kind of
Yeah,
metal, anything that's conductive, but you want to use the best, the material with the best conductivity rate that you can possibly get. But I mean, you can use a piece of rebar if you want. You can
yeah,
use
rebar
a
works,
hunk of metal, whatever you got.
but
But
that's another
you
thing
look,
too.
you don't want a Faraday cage sitting on your kitchen counter. You don't want a cardboard box wrapped in aluminum foil ready to go as a Faraday cage sitting on the counter and not being grounded. You want to ground it so you can get rid of that charge and dissipate it.
Would a metal pot with a metal lid work? I mean, yeah, I'm
If it,
sure. I'm sure it would. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you're as long as you seal it.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the hard part is
that's
to get the seal
yeah.
done. If I missed anybody's questions, go back and repost them. Um, I've been trying to go back and get caught up. Yeah, Japhet Methuselah, he says an EMP would be heaven for global reset. Yeah, it would. That would speed the process up for
Yeah.
sure.
So, you want to move on to the third one?
Yes, sir.
Because we can sit and argue about all this Faraday cage and what's the best ground rod and all this. I mean, again, I do things a certain way. Other people do things a certain way, and
Yeah, I mean, if you've got copper, great, use copper. If you've got galvanized, use that. If you got a hunk of rebar, use
exactly,
what you got.
exactly, exactly. I, yeah. All right. So, economic collapse, and you can't spend money anymore, and you are left with what you have. Do you live in north where days are shorter, less daylight to get your chores done? You can get gas and you depend on firewood for heating and cooking. How do you get your wood?
Dusty
Okay.
Data, thank you very much. Thank you, Dusty.
Economic collapse, and you can't spend any money anymore, and you are left with what you have. And then it says, do you live in north where days are shorter, less daylight to get your chores done? You
Yeah,
can't you can't get gas, and you depend on firewood for heating and cooking. How do you get your firewood? Well, the economic collapse, again, a lot of people, again, this is where everybody, you do it your way. We're just giving you our opinions and everything. I'm just telling you, for me, economic collapse, money's useless. Okay. There's going to be there, I'm telling you, if you bring some gold in front of me and want my chicken eggs, I'm going to tell you to kick rocks. That's just me. Okay. To me, the gold is useless. The money is useless. I'm going to say that's why you want to prepare with many things, because I would be a whole lot quicker to trade, a couple of dozen of chicken eggs, or, a dozen chicken eggs for that jar of beef broth or chicken broth, with some chicken in it that Ghost has prepared. I'll be a whole lot quicker to trade that than I would if Johnny was over here saying, "Hey man, I've got this gold, man," because gold is people can argue with me, and that's fine. They can believe what they want. I'm just telling you, when it comes to food and water, you better have some food and water to trade. You know what I'm saying? Because or some pew pew seeds. You know what I mean.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say that this third scenario that she submitted, it looks like a simple, easy one, but it's actually the one that intrigued me the most, because basically what she's saying there in that scenario is, hey, Prepper Nerd, thanks for joining. I appreciate that, buddy. What she's saying is a switch goes off tomorrow and it's 1850. There is no electricity. There's no running water unless you run and get it yourself, and you live in the north and the grid's down. There's no money transferring handing back and forth. What do? Well, if you heat your home with firewood and all you have are chainsaws and you don't have hand saws as a backup, you're doing it wrong. Okay. That's like saying, well, they invented Velcro, so I don't need to learn how to tie a knot anymore. If you heat your home with wood and all you have are motor-driven, gas-powered machines to do that labor for you, and you don't have backup hand saws, you're doing it wrong. You will eventually fail. All right. So if that's your situation now and you rely on a mechanical device to heat your home and keep your family alive, you need to invest in a couple of good quality hand saws, because you're going to have to learn how to cut wood the old-fashioned way, and an axe. I mean, it's good exercise. It's fun. To this day, I do it. It's a great workout. And that's going to come into play, especially if you're in the north, and that is your primary means of heating your home. So you need to go ahead and you need to plan to do everything without power. There you go. Plan to do everything without power.
It's funny that scenario was sent, because I just bought these yesterday. You sent
it. They're in plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got an axe and a splitting maul and a hatchet, and I thought, you know what, man, they had them down there. They were at a good price, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy me a couple extra set of them just because. And I did.
Come in handy.
Yeah.
And when the grid goes down and the money loses value and you're into the bartering thing. All right, I'm gonna give you an example, and this is not hypothetical. This is something that I actually experienced firsthand in a third world country when the grid went down, and this happened in Iraq back in 2004 when the invasion took place. We went into Iraq and basically took over and delegitimized the government. Their currency was effectively devalued at that point. Their currency was switched over to the dollar. We actually injected billions of dollars into their economy and switched them over to the American dollar. Now, all the money over there, every single bill they had, and most of the coins too, had Saddam's face on it. Well, here's the really, really weird thing, and it blew my mind, and it still blows my mind when I think about it. Even though that currency was devalued and it had absolutely zero value, it was just as well to be used as toilet paper as anything else. People were still using it. In the smaller communities and villages, they were still using it as a barter device. American soldiers were purchasing Iraqi money at a severe discount. There was a guy in my unit, bro. He had like $3 million in Iraqi currency that he spent probably a couple, $300-400 American on buying. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, man, it might come back 10, 20, 15 years from now. Their government may get reestablished. They may go back to this currency again, and then I'll be rich. And I was like, I can halfway see the logic in that, but it's a chance. It's a big chance to take. So if you're in an area where people value the dollar or the currency like that, even when the grid goes down and the money's devalued, there's still a chance. It's a tangible thing that's in your hand, and we have been ingrained for hundreds of years that that's how we conduct transactions, is with these little pieces of paper. And I am willing to bet you, even after a grid down scenario, when everybody's doing the bartering, I guarantee you money will still have a value. It's going to be drastically reduced, but it's going to be on that hope in your mind that it may rebound, like the stock market and the housing market and real estate properties, how they always go high and they go low and they bounce back. People are literally going to invest in dead currency thinking that it's going to come back. I've seen it happen firsthand. I mean, now a $100 bill might be worth, 5 cents, but it may still hold value. If you've got stacks and stacks and stacks of cash, somebody in America that's used to cash, they're going to look at that and they go, maybe, I'll just get 3 times the value of what I got, and maybe it'll bounce back. It's a good investment. Now, if it was somebody from another country that never seen an American dollar before, they're going to laugh at you. They're not going to know what you're holding. But us as a society, because we're ingrained to think money has a value, that is so important. It'll still hold some value.
Yeah. Well, and Waterwell guy says he's talking about having skills and stuff, and that is very important. You know, there's going to be things that people are going to need, and they're going to have, you know, maybe someone can sew really well, you know, and you've got a few clothes, and you know, you've got a couple of holes in them and stuff, and they're like, hey, I can fix some clothes for you if you'll do this for me, you know. I mean, that's, yeah, you know, skills, things like that are going to be super important. I mean, if you think about it, they already are, you know.
Okay.
Skills are important every day. You know, it's a good skilled laborer, you know, a good skilled worker. You know, that's you hear this a lot.
And it's funny, when this pandemic hit and everybody's getting shut down, everybody's getting sent home. Who did they deem as essential worker? The skilled workers, your mechanics, your auto mechanics. Those guys were allowed to stay open and keep running. All of your people that come to your house to fix your stuff and build stuff, those were deemed essential. You know, I mean, you can look back at their list of essential employees and essential workers, and those are the skilled jobs that are going to be important in a grid down scenario.
Yeah. There you go, Moonlight Gypsy, Ghost and Backwoods. After Hurricane Sally, power was out for 5 days. My son-in-law did a simple trade for our ice for some gas for the chainsaw. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, people are, you know, somebody's got a bunch of gas stored up, but they didn't think about, you know, it gets hot, man. It'd sure be nice to have a little bit of ice, you know. Hey, they might be willing to trade a little gas for some ice, you know. And John T. McGill, the the whole thing about the economy and crashing. I mean, I'm not smart like your friend and you know into the know, but I guarantee you I know enough to tell you that the economy is going to crash. There's going to be a reset. There are going to be things that happen. It's there's too many things that are pointing to it. You know, think about what they just did. You realize that they just started cutting off all the unemployment, and you know they've taken away all the deals, and every, like pretty much every state, everybody's fixing to have to, if you're getting unemployment off this free ride that they've been doing, you're basically going to have to start looking for a job. Now this is coming all the way from the White House, and they're basically it's coming from a lot of these states are doing the same thing. They're following in. It makes sense. They're saying you're going to have to start going and applying for a job, and if you are found that you turned down a job, your unemployment is completely cut off at that moment.
Yep. And
so, you know, they're getting ready. They're understanding. Even the government is understanding now. You can't just keep printing money. There's nothing there. Everything is screwed up because they have been printing money, and there's nothing there to back it. That's the problem.
Here's the thing, and if our economy was still based on the gold standard, if every dollar printed was backed up with that established value of gold, then the economy would be fine. Do you know why? Because then it fluctuates with the established value of gold. So in a situation like this, you could still print money if we were based on gold. But the problem is every dollar that you increase it takes away from that value of the gold. And then if the established value of gold took a drop, then the value of that, instead of that dollar being worth 100 pennies, if the value of gold was $10 a day and it drops to $5 tomorrow, then that value on that dollar is now worth 50 cents. But there's an intrinsic value to it. When you're printing fiat currency, there is no value to it. There's nothing behind it. So the reset that everybody's talking about, do I think it's coming? Yes, I do. But I also think it's a business decision. It's not a natural disaster kind of thing. This is a man-made effect, and they're not going to pull the trigger on that until they have a backup already put in place, already sitting there waiting with an established value, and it's easily transferable, i.e., all this crypto stuff. So when they do pull the trigger on all this fake money that's out there, the transition is actually going to be smoother than a lot of people think. I think that you're going to see a lot of these super, super rich people all of a sudden transferring all their hard currency into tangible items, i.e., properties and assets and precious metals.
Already happening.
Yeah, and transferring huge amounts of it into the cryptocurrency, because they're going to know it's coming before we do, because they're probably sitting at a table with a whole bunch of other people deciding on the date that they're going to do this. So it's the people like us that are sitting at home. If you've got your life savings shoved in your mattress, all of a sudden that's just going to go away when they flip that switch. So if you've got extra cash laying around, I'm not saying pull all your money out of the bank. I'm saying because most of your transactions are done electronically through the bank, keep enough in there to cover your debts and your bills. The rest of that stuff, convert it into a tangible asset, convert it into food storage. Your food storage. Every time I walk by my cabinet or my canned goods, I just get a little chill in the back of my mind. I'm going, that's a lot of money right there. That's always going to have, the value on food is always going to go up. It doesn't go down. It's never going to be as cheap as it is right now to buy a pound of rice. It's always going to go up. So if you've got $500 worth of food stored away, 2 years from now, after the reset, after the collapse, that $500 is worth about $50,000. So you're not going to get a better return on your money than food and water stored up. Bug dude.
Yeah, what? Real quick, Appalachian prepper. I agree with you. There are certain things that just it's just kind of, when you start talking about it, you get too much disagreement, and it causes a lot of controversy. But I agree with you, and I think that's what they're trying to do. But so what's this with Bug Dude? Ghost Prepper.
He said,
give you one crypto.
They give you $1 in cryptocurrency for $100. What happens to the national debt? Good question. I don't know. All that's gonna be based on what they value one American dollar at. And 2 years ago, it had a decent value to it. Now, because they've printed 5 times as much money in the last few months than they have in the last several years. So the starting point for the value of a dollar has decreased. It's been watered down so low that they get to set the price. They get to tell you how much they're going to give you for it. It'll be pennies on the dollar, I promise you that.
That's why a lot of the stuff that I had investments in, I sold out and put myself into where I hardly have any debt whatsoever, and bought preps and bought the things that I needed to get me through months of things. I have stuff, I have lots of stuff. I don't tell everything I got. I'm not going to, I'm not going to talk about a whole bunch of different things that I have, but I do have a lot of stuff, and I've spent a lot of money and setting myself up for long term.
That's what everybody should be doing. I mean, you can sit around and worry and ask different questions. What if? Well, hey, if you wait until they tell you what your next step is, you waited too long. You need to go ahead and take steps. Look, one thing's never going to change. No matter who's in charge, no matter who we call president, no matter who's making the decisions, you still got to eat. That's never going to change. Okay.
Yep. Eat and drink.
Change. Yeah. I mean, and and people need to jump on that and go from there, because that's a super. That's probably the most important prep and for your future you can possibly do, is to make sure you can have nutritious foods, to make sure you can drink clean water, and grow foods to replace it. And I had and if people are wondering, what's it going to look like, a great reset, there's a difference in inflation and hyperinflation. Look back 3 to 4 years ago at Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the richest countries on the planet per capita, until all this stuff took a nosedive. And it was a man-made nosedive. They went into inflation, then superinflation, then hyperinflation, and people were literally starving in the streets. They could not get food. Now, there was food there, but they couldn't afford to buy it. I mean, the price, and Scott put in there that, the price for a pound of rice before all this was, 40, 50 cents. After it kicked in and hyperinflation started, a pound of rice was $50, $70, $100 for 1 pound of rice. So if you want to know what it's going to look like if it happens here, go look at some of your old news feeds from Venezuela, and that's exactly what to expect. And it was all about the food.
I'm gonna do something I know you just really love. I'm gonna bring up a little bit of conspiracy that I'm sitting there thinking about.
Okay.
We've always been talking about how, this CW that's going to happen. We've already had a civil war in this country. A lot of people are talking about, man, there's going to be a civil war. There's going to be this. I don't think there will be. I'm sitting there thinking about this. I don't think it's going to be necessary. And the reason why I say is they figured out a way to keep from ever firing a shot. And think about it. They have done things to scare the living crap out of most people, to the point that they know now all they've got to do, and you've said it before, is control the food, which that's what they are starting. That's what they've really worked themselves into it.
Yeah.
Of controlling the food. They controlling the water. If you don't think they don't control the water, then how come there's a lot of places you can't even have a rain catchment system? Number two, don't pay your water bill and see what happens. So they control the water. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know everybody can say, well, I can go, there's a creek down the road, I can go live off grid. Well, if the problem with that is that look what they did with people that were outside when they weren't supposed to be, and they weren't wearing the little thingy that they were supposed to be. They offered a little bit of money and said, hey, we've got, you're at home, you can't make no money, but hey, we'll give you some money if you'll call and tell on them. You see what I'm saying? So there's all these little steps that they're doing. It seems to be real simple that, man, they really and truly, I mean, even as a prepper, they signed a lot of executive orders throughout the last, this other Barry Prez, he signed some executive orders. I don't know how many people know this, but he signed a bunch of executive orders, that during anytime, basically, the federal government can come in and can take over control of any farm, any waterway, any transportation, any of that stuff, any food distribution,
all the infrastructure,
everything. It's all signed, sealed, and all the repubs and Dems stood around and was like, yep, okay, not a problem. You know why? Because they're in on it. Birds of the feather, you think about it. Why is it called a right wing and a left wing? That's because them two wings are attached to the same bird. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so Bug Dude, exactly. They can put cops out at the creeks. They look at all the all the game wardens they already got. Look at all the law enforcement. You know what I'm saying, dude? I'm sitting there thinking about this, and it's like, wow, they'll never have to fire a shot, dude.
Lady Hammer, the answer to that question is no.
No.
There will be no bank.
Bank holiday is the worst thing you can ever hear in your life. When you pull up to that bank and they're going, man, we're having a bank holiday. It's not a holiday for you. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you go back to the water thing, if the answer is, well, I can just go get water out of the creek. Well, if you got a huge creek running through town, and I want to finagle you into paying for my overpriced, processed, cleaned water, then I would just make sure that the water in the creek was undrinkable. Some kind of an accidental spill or a natural disaster or something. Just make it not accessible. Make it not accessible. Make it illegal to drink water from that creek. I mean, they do it right now with all kinds of crazy things. Why not do it with water?
True, not to, yeah, and I mean it's pretty simple. They can do that. You've got milkmaid. Yes, exactly. That's why we are considered unsecured lenders. When you put your money into the bank, you are willfully giving your money to that bank. And it is you're an asset at that point that you put your money into the bank. And yes, anything that you're getting a government grant for on your property, when things go down, they can just look up them government grants and go, hey, we gave you money for this. It's ours. We need it. We're going to utilize it.
If they want to do that paperwork in a situation like that, they're not going to come in with a legal recourse. They're just going to come take it. They're just going to inform you that you no longer live on that farm, or they're going to inform you now work for the government of the whoever it is, and you're going to still keep producing food, but they may let you keep enough to stay alive, but the rest of it's going to go into the big food basket to be equally distributed
for the greater good.
For the greater good.
Y'all ever heard that phrase before?
Yeah. For
the greater good.
Yep.
Why do you think they can go through and do an easement and cut a power pole system or whatever right through your property? It's for the greater good.
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain, exactly.
That means we want your shit. We're taking your stuff, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, think about all those people that lived in the wilderness areas of all these national parks that were federalized. They had to move. They may have been given a few dollars, pennies on the dollar for their property, but they had to move. They had to relocate. The government's been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. If they want something, they just take it and they relocate people. Look at the reservations for the Native Americans and how they were huge and small and moved and transported. It's not. I mean, we're not making it. It's not like we're saying this is something that could happen. This is something that has happened many, many times.
Okay, so think about this one. Sandra Moody says, if the economy crashes, the banks can essentially lock down. Your money is not secured the way you think it is. Well, exactly. And I've had some people, when I start talking about this, people say, yeah, but it's FDIC secured up to $250,000 or something like that. I'm like, okay, but if the economy crashes, the government's broke.
Yeah. So who's securing what?
Exactly. So you see what I'm saying? Who's securing that? I mean,
that's a security blanket. That's just that's a marketing scheme to make you falsely comfortable about letting somebody else hold on to your money. They took away the choice to use banks about 20 years ago. Yeah, they did the direct deposit. You can't even get a paycheck without having to go to the bank. You have to have a bank account, which means you have to pay a service charge. You have to pay a fee. Now there's a record of every transaction that you're doing. I mean, they made us do that.
And think about this too, that Banks are loaning each other money all the time. Guess whose money that is they're loaning to?
Yep.
That's your money they're loaning. So guess what happens when a bank says we can't pay the loan any longer, and that other bank says, well, we want to collect on it because we can't pay our loan, and then the bank that they're have borrowed from is saying, well, we can't pay our loan either. So I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's a chain reaction. When the economy crashes and your money, they can then take your money to
That's
use it to pay off the debts.
thing the government's going to do is, if there's a potential crash in the market or a potential economy issue where it looks like it's going to flop and they're not ready for it to flop, they'll just close the banks. They'll just make sure there's not a run on banks. They'll just shut the banks down until further notice. And you can call on the phone all you want. It ain't going to do no good. If it, whatever you're leaving in the bank, prepare not to see it ever again. If you're just comfortable letting it sit there.
Lady Hammer, will we know ahead of time to get cash and buy stuff? That's what we're telling you. It's that we're telling you ahead of time right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're telling you is that buy stuff. Buy stuff that you're going to need. Buy stuff that is important.
Reason to keep your money in the bank in a savings account. What are you making? Like 0.2% annually, and after you pay the service charge, you're making nothing.
Yeah, you're making nothing. They're
making money off of your savings. You're not. So why leave it in the bank? Bring it home. Find a safe place somewhere in your yard. You know. Then you know. I mean, me, I don't want to have a whole lot of cash on hand. I want some. I'd rather go ahead and put that into tangible goods that I can eat later. I can't eat money.
Let me just tell y'all this one, all right? If you don't think that this ain't a bunch of hoopla that the bank is pulling on you, all right? I went and bought a bass boat. It was it was a used bass boat, and it still needed a little repairs and stuff that I did to it, but it was $6,500. Okay, let me tell you, the bank that I bank at, I got the loan from. No big deal. I was like, no problem. Got the boat, everything. That day, the dude came down with the boat. You know, we went to the bank. They gave him a check. Bam, he's gone. I had the title. Well, they got the title. All right, now I want y'all to listen to this one. Well, right there in the parking lot, we hooked the boat to my truck, and as soon as we get done with this paperwork, I'm going fishing in my new boat. So I take off fishing. Well, I get close to the lake, and I'm like, well, I need some gas and everything. It's going to be late when I'm coming home, you know, and where I was going fishing at, there's a lot of, you know, there was a few gas stations there, but they were them old country gas stations, so they shut down. And I was like, man, I may not be able to get gas for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and get gas. Well, guess what? Swiped that card, declined. Like, what do you mean? I've got $3,000 in the bank. I was just there. I know. Done it again. Declined. Call my wife. I'm like, hey, it's declining the card. I can't get any gas. She's like, oh no, that can't be. You know, we got like $3,000 in there. Let me look. $0 in there. And guess what? It showed a negative 2,500. And we got a service charge for negative 2,500. Because you know what they did? They took the damn money out of my account to secure their loan that they give me. But let me tell you, I like to have blown freaking I literally think I come the closest ever to proving that spontaneous combustion is real. Dude, I was livid. I called that bank manager and called him before he left, and I said, let me tell you something. I said, this is the biggest crock of BS that I've ever seen in my life. And I said, if my money is not back in my account here in about 5 minutes, I'm driving straight from here and I'm coming to that bank, and you better have the police there when I get there. because it's going to get ugly. I said, this is the biggest crap I've ever seen in my life. How in the world can y'all gave me the loan and you took the money out of my account to cover the loan and then did a negative 2,500 on my account and you're charging me fees? And dude was like, man, well, I mean, that's kind of the way we do it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, USOB, I'm on my way. I'm coming there now. Oh, whoa, wait a minute, sir. You know, wait a minute. And I said, no. I said, best thing you better do is take some aspirin, bud. You're gonna need them. And I hung up. A few minutes, my wife called me. She's like, the bank manager's on the phone right now, and he's saying, please don't come here. He will fix it. They put all the money back in the bank and all that, did all what, you know, took the fee away and all that. And she said, he wants to call you and apologize, but he's afraid to call you. I said, well, you tell him to give me a call. So he gave me a call. And I said, dude, I said, let me tell you something. I said, just because we're living in this little small country town, you think you're dealing with some dumb country folks. You're not. I said, this is a bunch of crap. I said, all that is a bunch of hoopla y'all are trying to pull over on somebody that might not stand up to you. And you're going to be able to charge them little service fees and crap. And I said, that ain't working. That ain't going to work for me. And I said, and I'll tell you what, I said, I'm going to actually consider, while I'm fishing, I'm going to actually consider leaving y'all's bank. We've been there for a long time, and that's the biggest bunch of crap I've ever heard of in my life. They drew the money from their freaking loan out of my bank account, dude. What kind of crap is that, dude?
Mm.
That dude, he called my wife. He was like, tell him we'll fix it. Tell him not to come here.
Yeah. One of them new tellers made a mistake and hit the wrong button.
Yeah, well, I was going to hit the right button when I got there. I can promise you. That button right there.
I ain't scared. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared to go to jail. I've been there before.
I hear you. Once or twice.
That joker would be scared to push that button, that wrong button again, though, I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
Dude, I was hot, man. But yeah,
you know, that last scenario is like really a good one. Not to get off topic, but
no,
that's something that everybody should plan for, and it's a legit concern if you live in an area where you have to heat your home with wood. If you live in an area where you have to heat your home, period, to survive. So if you're in the far north, I mean, if you're in upstates of, you know, New York, Pennsylvania, anything above the Mason-Dixon line, to where you literally would freeze to death in the wintertime without wood, and you don't have a way to get that wood or whatever you heat with, then you may would want to consider contingencies. You know, that's one of the reasons why you know, I live in the climate that I live in here. You know, I heat with wood, but I also I have a wood burning fireplace as well as heat from natural gas. But you know, I have plenty of trees. I have access to the wood. I have the machines and the tools to get the wood and process the wood. But you know, here in my climate, you know, I'll be okay if I never had heat in the wintertime. I mean, it gets down into the 20s and 30s on a yearly basis for a few days out of the year. But, you know, that's survivable without, you know, heat. You just got to have the right kind of clothing and blankets and things like that. But I would lay awake at night if I lived in upstate New York and there was no way to heat my house and home and keep my family warm. You know, I would definitely have to have a contingency plan set up for that. You know, I think it's ridiculous that they build a house. If you live in a climate where you get snow on a regular basis through the winter, I think it should be against the building code for them to construct a house that does not have a wood burning fireplace in it. That should be a requirement.
I agree. I agree. I mean, that's when I bought my wood burning stove for my shop building. I mean, that's one of the things I made sure I did was I've got everything to install it into my house. You know, all the double wall and all that crap to go through the, you know. So yeah, I got everything that I can quickly move that thing right over into the house. So if there is a grid down and it's going to be a long while, then you know I just move that sucker right over into the house and don't think I won't cut a hole in the side of the house.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can just pop it through a window and secure it, tie it off, and seal up around it.
Yep.
Yeah, you could actually go ahead and do that now and have a kit set up. You know, get you a piece of sheet metal or plywood and wrap it in metal, and go ahead and have it measured for the window opening, and and go ahead and have where you could have it set up in a flash.
I've already got it to where basically I've already, because of the way our house is designed and the best place for it and everything.
Yeah.
I've already got. That's what I'm saying. I could have it set up in probably an hour, a couple hours. You know what I mean? And,
right.
Pretty quickly. Yep, redneck engineering.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got it. I've got it pretty much all everything where it won't take long. I'll have a fire going in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, that was and yeah, that's a legit, like number 3 is probably the most legit out of all 3 of those scenarios. There's something that we could see happening this winter, right now, this year, in a few months. And that was my main concern that I stressed several times is I think this whole master plan of what's going on right now, it's all going to come into fruition sometime around November, December. That's when people are going to freeze and they're going to starve.
Yeah. Yeah. Bug dude. Yeah. Plywood is a guy told me that it was $98 for a good piece of plywood for some good stuff right now. $98 a sheet.
It's good.
I know that.
They put out a report about a month or so ago that they increased, out of all the new homes being built right now, the price of across the board, an average increase on the price of new homes was $35,000 or $36,000 per house increase in the price to build a new home because of the increase in the price of lumber.
Yep.
That's $36,000 that you basically just put in the toilet and flush down the toilet, because if the price of lumber goes back to normal, that's $36,000 of inflated value on a house that just disappeared and went away. So if you paid $200,000 for a house today, and a year from now the wood comes back, your house immediately, the value drops to 170. Oh yeah, 170,000.
$3/4, $60 a sheet, 7/16, $56 a sheet.
It was 58.
That's what I'm saying, man. It just depends on where you're at, but I mean, I don't know this guy.
It's first run or not, and what quality.
Yeah, $100 a sheet here in Oregon. Yeah, that's what this one guy, he was going to build on to his. He was going to close it. He's got a big one of them big wrap, our front porches, and he was closing some of it in because the house is not real big, and he was going to like make this walk-in closet and all that. And so he did do some of it, and then he was going to finish it this year with the money wise and everything. Yeah, he said it was 3 times the amount to finish it from what it was last year.
Yeah,
3 times the amount. And he said I can't afford to do it. He said I'm just gonna have to leave it like it is. And I was like, I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's why I decided to make my rabbit cages out of all metal, because of the price of wood. And I mean, if you're using wood on a rabbit hutch or a rabbit cage, you have to go ahead and realize that you're going to have to replace that quite frequently, because number 1, the rabbits chew on it. Number 2, they pee and poop on it. and all that bacteria and that smell seeps into the wood, and you never get it out. And now you go back to part one where the rabbits like to chew on it. So now you're bringing an element of disease into your meat rabbits that you don't want to eat. I mean, they're going to chew on this wood that's is covered in their own feces and their own urine, and it can make them sick. It's a breeding ground for diseases, and it can wipe out your entire herd. So I chose to make my rabbit hutches completely metal, where I don't have that issue, and I don't literally a 2x4 is like $12, but I can get a 7-foot tall T-rail for about $250. So I'm just making my hutch. That's all metal, and I may end up doing the roof out of wood, but that'll be, a whole lot cheaper, and it'll last for a long time because it won't be getting peed and pooped on, and they can't reach it to chew on it.
If you think about it, man, this little test run that they did in 2020, because that's what it was. All they need is one more good one.
Oh yeah, they've already got the pieces in place.
Yeah, all they need is one more good. You know what? Come out, have all they'll need is to release something just in enough area to have a few people fall out on the ground, dead, and say, man, this is bad. This is really bad. And I'm telling you, it's going to be over. They're gonna be able to do exactly what they want at that point.
Yes, sir. You are correct.
I mean, they already got people finally starting to, people are starting to kind of calm down and seeing that's another way that they're going to be able to get you. Just think about this. All the ones who are bucking against it, who ain't wearing certain things and ain't doing certain things, man, all they got to do is pop one more deal out and it's going to be really bad. And the ones like us who are like, yeah, I didn't believe the first one, I sure ain't believing this crap.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden it's going to be a bad one. And a bunch of us are going to die, you know what I'm saying? And the rest of them who don't, are going to be like, yeah, buddy, I'll stay in my house. I'll do what you say, I mean, you know what, because think about all the people that already do, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Just kind of seems pretty simple, really.
Yeah, it does when you think about it. I mean, the writing's on the wall.
You get rid of the dissenters real easy that way, and you scare the living daylights out of the rest of them. You scare them into complete submission. Pretty simple.
Yep, that's easy to do with a sheep.
Yep.
Easy to do. Well, we are approaching the 2-hour mark. Guys and girls in the chat, anybody got any good questions for us? Or any more good questions? You guys have been throwing out there pretty good tonight.
Yeah, there's been some good questions. Well, that's another reason why everybody where'd it go? This dang chat is jumping over here. Be Charming says this is making me stupid chat, quit jumping. This is making me want to have an underground vault for preps and such. Well, here's the thing. Again, that's another reason why I keep telling everybody, go out and live. We've already wasted a year of our lives. Some people did, some people didn't. I mean, even we've all been affected in one way or another. I spent the first Thanksgiving and Christmas without my family, my parents, because they were scared of this crap. We had a good Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I'm just saying, they didn't come. So that's, that's why I keep telling everybody, man, live while you're alive. You know, as long as you're drawing a breath, you got a chance, and live. Get out and live. Get out and have a good
Yeah.
time. Live while you can, because you know it may not be so easy to live soon, and you
Yep.
know what I mean. It's gonna get a lot harder.
I do agree. I do agree. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have any other questions in the chat, it's at the 2 hour mark. I'm fixing to shut her
Well,
down.
I got one last question
Uh-huh.
for you, Ghost. I'm wanting to know, you
Mustard.
like mustard on your biscuits or what?
I do. I do.
Sometimes mustard's is really good on your biscuits, but when you got them big beards like you got, they drop off and they get in the beard, and then it looks like you got the jaundice of the beard. Just saying.
Is all. Monty, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate
Hey,
that.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Rolling blackouts in summer coming. SHTF. What preps are recommended? Well, for rolling blackouts, I would definitely number one prep would be alternate power sources, i.e., generator, whether that be gas, propane, natural gas, or all three, or a solar generator. Especially the rolling blackouts at night in the hot areas, because it gets really hot at night. But I would definitely try to prep alternate power sources. Monty, I appreciate that so much. Great show, guys. These are the talks we need to be having regularly. We also need to figure out how to get the word out in a way non-preppers will understand. That is a great point, Monty. But and I've come to realize something. After all the stuff we've been going through for the last 14, 15, 16 months, if non-preppers haven't figured it out by now, that they may be unsavable, like legit. That we're living through an SHTA situation right now, and if they're going on like life is normal, nothing affects me, that might be a hopeless cause. I mean, I really don't know how. I mean, aside from buying billboards on the side of the highway and poking up signs or something, I just don't. I mean, it can't be any more obvious than it is right now. And people just, some people were born to be sheep. Some people cannot survive without being led and being told what to do. And there's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, you can prep for them. If it's a family member or somebody you care about, you can, and I do that. You can just go out of your way and prep for that other person, and then when it does hit, you're prepared for them, and hopefully they will appreciate that and become a part of whatever. But as far as getting the word out, man, the word is everywhere. It's all over every single news station. It's all over. It's everywhere. So if they can't see it, it goes back to that movie Roddy Piper did, They Live, where there was the aliens and you couldn't see them, but without the glasses, I mean, it's all around us. If you can't, I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but what? Yeah, you can't make them drink. I mean,
I agree.
It's there.
I'm not. I'm just telling you, man. The only thing we can do is just put the message out there. If someone wants to listen, they can listen. If they don't, I can't do nothing for them. I'm not. I mean, I'm not going to beg people. You put the information is so in your face already, and then with the added of us talking about it and telling them about it and pointing the stuff out to them. I've got people around here that I've sat and pointed this. I'm like, look at this, look at this. Well, look at the toilet paper wars. I mean, look how quickly everything disappeared. And they're just like, well, yeah, but it's here now. And I'm like, okay, just never mind. And I'm not wasting my energy and time. You know what? Life is already short enough, and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna keep prepping for my family. And by gosh, when somebody that I tried to warn tries to come and take it, they gonna get it. Is what I'm gonna tell you.
Agreed. Milton, I know feeling. I've got a huge family as well. Mine's pretty well spread out all over, up and down the East Coast. But you can only do what you can do. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I can't worry about all of them. I don't wish bad on anybody. But if anything, if there's something going on in the world, if it's in my circle and I can influence the outcome, I will. If it's in my circle and I can't influence the outcome, I'm going to get it out of my circle. Everything in my circle needs to, it serves a purpose. Everybody has a job. Everything in my area of operation has a purpose and serves a function. That's the way that's the way I live my life every single day. I try to the best of my ability. And that's the way I approach prepping. If I'm going to invest time or money or mental power on something, I'm going to get a return, and a lot of people don't look at time as money. Let me tell you something. My time is precious. Every minute you spend doing something that was waste is a minute you're not getting back, so just that's the way I look at it. Is it right? I don't know. It's just the way I do it. Now we're starting to get some questions in here. Okay.
Well,
a question that said, any suggestions on a good hand pump, and I can't find it. I actually have researched several of those when I was buying my other property because it had a well and I wanted a backup hand pump. You can actually find quite a few at Amazon. You can actually go to a hardware store and get one. There are some mechanically inclined people. If it's not a deep well, you can just sink your own. You can just sink a hose down in there, and you can get a bicycle pump, and you can siphon. You can use a pond pump that's got a good head height, and head height means the distance vertical that it'll travel. It'll transport the water. So depending on the depth of your well, if it's a shallow well, you get a lot of options. If it's a deep well, your options are limited.
Well, that's you got to worry about if your pump is going to have like you said, the height on it, because you get a pump that ain't got the cojones to pump that water that high. You're just doing no good.
Deep well, I would suggest a DC solar pump. You can get a DC pump, and you can power that bad boy off of a solar panel. Get you a holding tank. Pump up 40-50 gallons a day, so it'll last you through the night, and you're good. We got here, red burning fires, the milkmaid, they'll watch prepping channels. My family's the same, but they're not in other states. Yeah, you can lead them to water, but that's about all you can do.
Prepper 101. Any kind of I would, just because of the heat and everything, I would make sure that it's like a 80 weight oil, and you'll be fine. It won't break down as fast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, and number one, I want to apologize for taking a power nap that knocked me down. It was some good sleep, but I want to apologize for being late, and thank you guys so much for rebounding and coming in here. I do apologize for that. The Backwoods, thank you for holding it down and keeping everybody entertained. I'm sure I don't want to go back and look at that chat. But I really appreciate all you guys coming in here. I'm looking forward to canning tomorrow. Got a special surprise on the canning stream tomorrow for you guys if you tune in. And then Sunday night we'll be on Backwoods channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central for prep rally over there. But I just wanted to tell you guys thank you for stopping in. I do appreciate it so much. Thank you to all my new members. I've got a whole lot more members in the initial 24 hours than I thought I would. That's awesome. I'm working on some really cool stuff for you guys. And if anybody doesn't know what the membership means, and there was a bit of a rant on my part I put out. Thank you, Dusty. I do appreciate that. The way the membership things work through YouTube, there was some confusion. Okay. If you choose to do the memberships on your channel, or if you choose to subscribe to somebody and become a member of their channel, you need to understand that the membership tier, at least for my YouTube channel, my memberships are completely separate from the channel itself. The channel itself is going to stay the same. You're going to get the exact same content that you've always got from me without being a member to my channel. So I'm not actively out here trying to get members. Hey, be a member, be a member. What I'm saying is, if you want to be a member, you're basically asking me, hey, Ghost, do you think you can go invest another 15, 20, 25 hours of your time a week to come up with some content directly made specifically for the members? Can you go over and above what you're doing now and do something extra for people that want something extra? So my memberships are completely separate from my YouTube channel. I don't want anybody to think, oh, I can't afford a membership, so I can't. No. You don't ever have to give me one single penny, and you can still come on this channel and get the same content that I've been delivering. That's never going to change. It's only going to get better. The memberships are just something completely separate. So I don't want anybody to feel obligated that you have to become a member or anything like that. That is completely not the case. Okay. I just wanted to make that like really, really super, super clear. At least on my part, that's how I'm doing the memberships on my channel.
Freaking 101. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's something. Other than that, I will see you guys if you can tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central for the canning party. We are making and preserving ghee. Got to get that butter in the jar, and then Sunday we'll be on Backwoods channel. So again, thank you guys very much for coming out. Dusty, y'all do the $20 membership. Ghost twerks. Yeah, Ghost ain't twerking. That'll be a whole lot more than a $20 membership.
Are you doing a after party thing tonight?
I had planned on doing it, but since this one went so late, I didn't. I tell you what, do you want to?
I mean, I'm game. I need to go in there and get me something to eat real quick, but I mean, other than that, about 15 minutes. I'll be.
It's 11 o'clock now. Why don't you want to do the after party on your channel?
It's only 10.
Huh?
It's only 10.
It's 11 here. No, well, I'm just saying, you want to take half an hour, get something to eat, and then go live at 11:30?
It's up to you, man. We can do it on your channel. My
phone's dead.
Well, the only thing I'm worried about is my son has got one of his buddies over, and they're wanting to do some live streaming too. And I told them if they'll hold off.
Well, all right. It's 11 o'clock here. I'm gonna take a half an hour, get something to eat, all that good stuff, and then I'll log back on. And if there's people moving around and there ain't nobody, I don't need anybody. Screw it, guys. 11:30, 11:45. I'm going live for an after party. If you guys want to come join us, come join us. I'd appreciate it. How's that? 11:30, 11:45.
We're gonna get Ghost to drink some beverages, and we're gonna get him to twerk. He's going to twerk. I'm going to talk him into
it. All right, we're out of here. See y'all in a half an hour, 45 minutes.
Love you guys, man.
Thanks for it. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to shut this bad boy down. I just don't end the live. It may cut off completely. I don't know, because I'm trying to do it on both my phone and the computer here.
We're still live.
I know, I'm still